Feeling that there's someone behind the scenes pulling the strings. Maybe as a player, you felt that the enemies that you fought, the conflicts that you've had are just pawns. They're just pieces in a game moved around by a greater foe. Well, today, on the day of chess, we're going to delve into that feeling, that mechanism, those machinations of our big bad evil guys. And who's to say that the player characters themselves won't be playing a game of chess and other games? Anyway, let's start to top off our mind fuel and get into it. Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. And today we're going to talk about chess. Well, not specifically the game. We're going to talk around it because this is a tabletop role playing uh, community here and a podcast. And we are using many prompts on this day of series. And I thought we would go back to a game. Vince's like, so my birthday is the day of chess. Yeah, yes, we're going to go into um, what the game represents, and maybe in a way, kind of getting a little meta. Um, would we be willing to have a role playing game in which our player characters are playing a game that then affects the game that they are playing in? I don't know. That might be a little bit. That might be pulling threads a little bit too far, but who's to say, right? So, um, we've seen this. Yeah, already. You guys already got to it. Yeah. Yeah, Vince mentions, what about the idea that the gods play chess and the PCs are the chess pieces? For those who are not of a certain age, and let's see if I can find this image here. I hadn't even thought about it. There's been some very old, I want to say 70s, maybe early 80s, movies where we had the Olympian gods. Um, the let's see, the gods play chess. Let's see if we can find this image here from a movie. Um and in it, yes, we actually have it. Okay, cool. All right, okay, I'll share this set. Sorry. Got to do this. Let's see, gods play chess. There is an old movie. Is it um let's see if I can bring this up here. There's an image in the center. Let's see if we can get this a little bit bigger here. There's an image in the center of this, of what I've just looked at, and involves, I believe it might either be Clash of the Titans or something else, but we've often imagined the gods playing chess, and as they're moving pieces on the game board, as they're moving pieces on the game board, we as humanity feel the end result. Meaning the gods grab a chess piece and capture one, and all of a sudden, a member of humanity is thrown into oblivion, or trapped in Tartarus or something like that. And these are, of course, the Greek slash Roman gods and such. And let's go ahead and visit TV tropes. Uh, Cosmic chess game. Let's see where Jason. It is Jason and the Argonauts. Okay. Jason and the Argonauts has some shots of the Greek gods playing games with the lives of mortals, and in that movie series in that movie 1963, I was really off. But yes, the humanity is like raising their fists up into the air, and it's just like, what are you doing? Like, and of course the gods are playing chess, and some of the goodly gods are don't really want to don't really want to see humanity played with in this manner. And of course, the game itself, win or lose, is amongst these powerful beings. But yep, and Vince also says also chess is like a is almost like the prototype for tactical combat of TTRPGs. If I'm not mistaken, I believe if let's looking at the wiki, um, that it might have been the prototype for actual combat. Let's see if we can find something here. Chess is a board game for two players called White and Black, each controlling an army of chess pieces in their color, with the objective to checkmate the opponent's king. It is sometimes called international chess or Western chess to distinguish it from related games such as uh, Jiangqi, which is Chinese chess, and shogi, Japanese chess. The recorded history of chess goes back at least to the emergence of a similar game, Chaturanga, in 7th century India. The rules of chess, as they are known today, emerged in Europe at the end of the 15th century. I figured it would be older than that, with standardization and universal acceptance by the end of the 19th century. Today, chess is one of the world's most popular games played by millions of people worldwide. And I imagine whether you really want to include real chess into your role playing games, or the idea that there is a strategic game played in the world, and on the day of chess maybe there are many people brought together from around the world of your setting, across the countryside, to come play this game. Or again, it may be that the players just happen to have a supernatural feeling of the people we're talking to right now are being manipulated by something on high, that things were placed in their way, knowing that they can see the tendrils of the pawns and the bishops and the rooks and whatnot, or whatever title of games you'd like to call them, in your fantasy setting. Maybe they're not called pawns, rooks, kings, queens. Maybe they're called dragons, castles, wizards, and priests, or something like that. With pawns, instead of pawns, they're henchmen or yeomen or retainers or whatever. Um, Vince says, I once made a god TTRPG without much rules, but the idea was that the gods play with heroes was very prevalent. There is a role playing game about that as well, if I'm not mistaken. Um, Almost like you're playing a character that then controls the population of a world. Very, very much like the various video game series where Populous and many others like its nature, like a Sims game where you control you can create storms that affect tribes and things like that, and they have to deal with it, and also granting people fire and farming tools and things of that nature. And on this day, the day of chess, it's possible that the players may willingly step into the role of these pieces, maybe to defend those of their own against someone else. Or it may be that a game is being played, I mean, mortal game, a bunch of people sitting down and the PCs can see, but they understand that moving a small piece on a board here affects the worldwide, the world in its totality. Largely, maybe someone moves, maybe a young prodigy moves a small castle, and then the PCs are like, did you feel that? I felt a tremor in the ground, and all of a sudden there's like this huge castle on the horizon, and humanity is just like, no, that castle's been there the whole time, and the PCs are like, 30 seconds ago, it just existed. Yeah. Yeah, black and white game. Wikipedia calls it white and black. I believe it's the white pieces that always move first, and you grabbed a black and a white, and then someone picks a hand, left or right hand. You open up the piece, and that's what you start with. Yeah, there are various attempts to make a chess too, and some very interesting. Oh shoot! Did I just get knocked out? No, 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 no! Come on, show up. There's a game called Dream Blade, and in Dream Blade, you do assemble chess pieces to play amongst a dream realm, dream nightmarish realm. And yeah, I'm back. I'm back. It went away. Thank goodness. Like for example, right here we have. Let's see if we could. Right here we have variant chess. I mean, I searched for chess variants, and these are various chess variants created by different people from around the world. I'm sure some of these are digital as well as physical copies and renditions of different types of chess. I remember doing a four place. Let's see if we can find the image down here. I'll click the colored pieces. With my friends, I had a one of my lifelong friends is a math professor, and he created four position chess, and we used to play four position chess. It had we used less pieces. It was like four pawns, five pawns. It was like something like that. It was less pieces, a less larger board. But we used to play four position chess all the time. And he also made a chessboard where we had additional pieces. So there were other piece possibilities for the variation. If we take a really quick look, and I haven't clicked any of these, but I mean, we have a number of four position chess. We have smaller chess boards. We have hexagonal chess variants. We have chess with barriers. There is wow. This one uses one, two, three, four levels of chess pieces, and one, two, three, four, five, six, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 across, four deep. And these look like dice. That's wild. That is really wild. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Also, while we think of the gods playing chess and such, it could be that imagine a society where how chess is played dictates interactions in the law, meaning that if a castle is taken, a rook, a castle is taken down by a piece, that it literally gets moved into the realm of possession of another individual, and the pieces are, maybe they are hired or they're duty bound to ensure that the outcome of the game is represented in the physical world. That would be very interesting. Look, this chessboard only has, yeah, five pieces on it, five on each side. Um, Round chessboards, things like that. I mean, tonight or not tonight. Abstract games. Wow, look at that image. Look at the colors on that one. Ooh, very interesting. Very, 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 very interesting. Maybe some of these, looking at this, the new abstract games, maybe looking at some of these colored pieces only come into play when, maybe when you arrive on certain positions on the board. That would be pretty interesting. And so maybe certain things are not instigated in your world until certain events happen. And if those events happen, very interestingly, it could be like um, uh, extreme forms of foreshadowing where hey, someone moves into this area and the PCs are like, oh no, they moved into the swamp. I guess we're going to have to go there, right? Or or the player characters are going along like a traveling through a very easy to navigate trade route, and then all of a sudden it's like torrential rain or snow or blasting heat, and they're like, oh no. Vince says chess is also a really popular type of riddle for the players. Hell yeah, having a chess position and having a chess position, and you have to checkmate or some other chess riddle. Moving chess pieces in a dungeon is very common, especially if you have the idea that like the players themselves are a chess piece and they can't move out of their square to maybe help a PC or something like that. Be pretty interesting. Like the eight queens that have to be positioned in a way they can't hit each other on a chessboard. Ooh. Hmm. Some bored European nobles used to play real chess, where each piece was actually a person and the knight was actually a guy on a horse. Did they? Is that a real thing? I'm not saying it's not because people were just pretty brutal, but I wonder if that was ever a real thing, like real chess. Now, of course, if you've ever been a kid and you've found those giant sized chessboards that you play um, in the park or in the woods or something, I've played a bunch of that. It can get a little boring if you play real life chess where you stand in a chess piece and someone tells you where to move and you're just standing there in a square not really doing much, but it is kind of fun. Yeah, Vince says there's laser chess where you have to hit the other king with a real laser ray through various mirror pieces. Would be great for a riddle or combat situation. Vince says yes, they did that. Real chess. Hmm. Wow. Can you imagine just standing there forever and then going like, "Oh, they called me. I guess I'm going to die now. I will die and or be mortally wounded." Horrible. Horrible. Human beings are just the worst. Why don't I have a background? There we go. Something colorful. And let's pick something a little bit more dramatic. All right. So, sorry, moving on to our some of our concepts about literally playing real chess. Also, if the players know, they are aware that pieces are being moved on the board and it's affecting real life, they then might have the ability to influence a certain thing. They maybe the NPC that feels they're very important, the PC is like, look, you're just a pawn. Like what you're doing right now, this you're not in your right mind. Now, would this be hypnotic? Maybe not necessarily. Maybe this is powerful entities, bribery, things like that, that are influencing how people are acting, and uh, so on and so forth. Like Vince, Vince says, it was horrible for the people playing the pieces. They had to stand still for quite a long time. Google human chess. I no, I'm going to do that right now. Let's see. Let's see. Human chess. Uh, and I'm going to human chess match. And let's share this and expand this out here. Hmm. Chess power. Oh, there it is. Yeah. I mean, I see some modern versions of it, which I'm sure I absolutely agree would not be deadly, but the ooh, human chess. Let's visit this. Human chess, living chess, or live chess is a form of chess in which people take the place of pieces. Human chess is typically played outdoors, either on a large chessboard or on the ground, and is often played at Renaissance fairs. In Vietnam, human chess is one of the folk games that take place during folk festivals of in general and the northern delta in particular, especially during the Lunar New Year. Wow. Mm-mm-mm. A game of body painted human chess at the World Body Painting Festival. Instances. Wow. Hmm. Hmm. Very interesting. You'd have to be very an an adversary or nobles would have to be extremely rich and also quite arrogant to want to play a maybe an arcane endowed human level real chess pieces kind of activity because you would have to be so bored. Although, like I said, it's possible that the people participating in this, whether they are real individuals, whether it is portraying real negotiations or war, because a lot of our games that we play in our real life are simulations of real life. If we take this and flip it on its head, it could be it could be the showing the human population of the nation what already happened, like reenacting a great war, or the opposite way. Hey, everybody, at the end of this game, rest assured that you might want to scramble out of this stadium or something because your life might not be the same as it used to be. And of course, um, it's possible not to have to use regular chess pieces. There could be mountains and farms and boats and things of that nature as pieces moved around. And in a terrible way, players might have to confront things that they normally wouldn't because it was moved in front of them, blocking their way. But in another way, it's possible that the players could navigate their way through this game to completely avoid, you know, the two Tarrasques that wouldn't possibly block their way if they get moved or something in their way or something. Yeah. Ha! Hey, Drew. Yeah. The queen just joined your game. Hells yeah. I love it. Uh, Vince says, there is the game House of the Blooded, where you play very rich nobles and throwing a party with some cool game is essential. I've heard of the Houses of the Blooded, but I don't. What kind of game is that? Says, by the way, the transformation of pieces at the end of the board would also be interesting. Maybe you have to move to a specific position in a tactical combat to power up or transform to win. I like that a lot. Like in order to activate or become, transform, to ascend, to like for example, you could move to a particular position to, for example, light another position on fire, right? If you move into the red square, you have the ability to call down fire on any black or blue square, like as an example, right? Or, hey, if you move into the purple square, you then have control over whatever piece is in, position C12, right? Like it, and what a strange riddle, kind of cool navigatable thing where maybe the players will never ever possess this specific ability, but in the day of chess, if they place themselves in a particular position, they then have control over this other thing. Now it could be that there are people who are dressed in like tabards, or they wear a medallion, or they have a pin that grants, like, once you it would be like being knighted, or being a uh, temporarily deputized. And when the PCs are walking around the world and they see people with these, say, medallions or something, or crowns or whatever, wearing them, and they see them wearing the medallions, they're like, oh, wait a minute, this person also controls a thing. And then and that person like looks at you like, uh-huh, yeah, yeah, I'm the elementalist today. I get to summon them as long, and then maybe there's fights over stealing the medallions, and if you grab one, you can use it, but only you can only use it if you're in this particular location in the world and stuff. Yeah. Wow. Vince's Houses of the Blooded is from John Wick. The writer. Yeah. You play a fictional race of nobles. The rules suck, but it has a lot of cool ideas in it. It feels a bit like Game of Thrones in a way. There's Listen, when Game of Thrones came out, there were a lot of variations of the thematically of houses doing battle. Vince says it played. I played a couple times. The rules suck for most players. They get too much agency, and most players don't like that. The PCs have almost as much agency as the GM through wagers. Ooh, got a physical copy of it. Now, again, if we want to go more for a Game of Thrones kind of thing, it's possible through whatever machinations you have in your game that the players have greater control of a house, and that house um, has pieces in the world that the players must then manipulate to achieve success on during this day of chess. And the other houses, maybe more than just the white pieces and the black pieces, but you have different variations thereof. It's possible that it's possible that doing this, using this example of the various variations of chess, that the player characters have to look out for more than just the enemy in front of them, but the enemies to the side. I mean, some of these boards look like they have like little enclosed kingdoms on the side. Some of these have various colors. Looks like giant things. So shut up and sit down. The best ways to make chess fun with chess variants. There may be obstacles in the way that individuals can move. Um, I have a modern game that's based on it is Oishi Oshiri or something, and it has pieces that the larger the piece, the slower it moves. So you have the small one style fast piece, and you can move them three spaces. You got the medium size two level piece, and then you have the slower three piece. But the larger pieces can't be taken out by just one. You actually have to trap them by three pieces and things like that. So yeah, there's lots of these. The Encyclopedia of Chess Variants for Amazon. How much is that here? Let's go ahead and visit that. Share this tab instead. Oh, wow. Hardcover is only 798 US dollars. I, there's a newer edition of this item. It's only $215. Ouch. Okay, maybe we won't do that. I'm going to look at it from afar. $800 for the original. Oof. Oof. Okay, I'm done. I'm done looking at that. Let's get back into our tabletop role playing games, shall we? Because that hurt my feelings. Oh man, Marco says literally had a chess themed battle in the last D&D session I played in. The rules were quickly revealed to be non-existent, ensuring the fight was more fast-paced as the pieces went into a brawl all at once. Yeah, that's the thing that would be very difficult to bring about for your players, unless they're really into it, right? About, hey guys, you can't move a certain way, or you don't have influence because as the chess piece you represent, you you have a limited number of spaces you can move or abilities you can use. Although you could just make them thematic, right? Like if you play a rook, maybe, or a castle, rook, you must represent defense. So you must protect the MacGuffin, right? The nobles, the king or queen. And if the queen can move in any space, maybe the queen keeps moving out of her defensive position. The PCs are like, we got to run after her because she keeps getting away. Uh, Judenfuzz says, that sounds neat for me since I prefer games even without a GM entirely. And player agency or narratives driven by the players are really how I love to play. And of course, narrative is extremely popular in the NSR, the new school like rule systems we have, new system rules that we have today. So absolutely. Vince says, try it and tell me if you enjoyed it. For me, it feels like the ideas are great, but the execution is clumsy and not very elegant. He tries to put together various ideas that don't really work together. Okay. All right. But you still, even for you, Vince, you're like, there's a nugget of something here. Maybe the rules aren't quite good, but there's a nugget. Um, there could also be a campaign where you collect various chess pieces as magic items, and the more you have, the more places you can get into. The knight could summon horses, and the bishop may heal. The tower provides cover, etc. I love that idea as well. I mean, what a great way! What great MacGuffins to gather together as you're adventuring. And maybe they're not all in dungeons. Maybe they are acquired through parlay. Maybe there's an old hermit in a tall mountainside or something, and you have to scale it to get there. And that hermit has a chess piece that they hand over. It could literally be a mission from the gods. We, you know, we do play a lot of role playing games, but maybe we don't embrace a lot of the mythologically uh, centered stories where maybe our players are literally beseeched by the gods to be worthy of something, and they literally present in front of them obstacles to get these pieces to then move these pieces. Or maybe one of the gods is rebelling against the others who feel like they're having too much influence in human society and just using them as playthings. But maybe one of the goodly gods is like, hey heroes, I can't really help you, but I'm going to put you on a path so that you can play chess against the greatest, right? Against the gods themselves. And the PCs start gathering the knight and the bishop and the rooks and pawns that they need. And again, like you're saying there, Vince, maybe it allows them to find cover or move things in place. And once they gather all seven pieces, seven parts of the rod, they're able to confront the gods themselves. That would be awesome. Um, Marco says only limit was that you could only order one type of piece at once. All pawns attack the queen. All rooks stop the bishops from healing. Hmm. Mix. It could be a like rock paper scissors kind of thing where if you have a piece and the enemy has an opposing piece, you can stop your enemy. So maybe like a pawn stops the bishop from healing, and your enemy has gathered a bishop. This I like the idea of this happening because what a great way to something that is brought up oftentimes, and this is a cyclical thing of having alternative win conditions. Um, Alternatives than battling monsters, you win or I win. Instead, it may be going to get the MacGuffins, and there might be, the black pieces, the white pieces, the ivory pieces, and the onyx pieces. And the enemy might be trying to go after the ivory pieces because the goodly people own them, and the PCs may be going after the onyx pieces because the evil people have them. And what happens is each piece, like the rooks, if the PCs capture the rook, the defensive positions of the enemies might fall, or they're able to pierce their defenses. And maybe having those pieces linked together like that might be kind of cool. Yeah, Drew says, happy birthday, Vince. Yeah. What are you doing spending your birthday here? Vince says, I'm a sucker for great ideas, and even if I will never play it again, I could be it can be inspiration. Hell yeah. Me too. Me too. It's my addiction to really terrible movies and television shows that I go, there was a great idea here. Damn, my feelings are hurt, but I kind of like the idea. I kind of like it. Anyway, Drew says, imagine you collect all the chess pieces just to find out the deities are playing shogi or go. Yeah. Hey, heroes, we're actually playing a different game, so yeah, no. Yeah, that would be a real slap in the face, but pretty funny. But going back to the alternate win, having something a third, I don't know if you would call it enemy, but a third conflict when the players and enemies clash together is always a thing that we can absolutely use. Oh, thanks, Vince. I'm going to pin that. So, yeah, Vince says this is the place I love to be on my birthday. Well, if not to get back to the heavy drinking, if that's what you do on your birthday, yeah. Yeah, Drew says to me, it sounds more like evil people would use ivory. Well, Yes, yes, they really would, right? And it's just like, where'd you get the ivory from? Because, uh, anyway, human beings are so we 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 take brutality to such high levels. Sorry, just thinking about where ivory is collected from or how it's collected and such. But it would be pretty interesting for the players to, you're confronted by enemies and they're going, listen, we don't have time to fight you. We've got to go get that chess piece that's, I don't know, hanging from the ceiling in the great cathedral or buried deep into the ground. And I don't know, it's at the bottom of a lake. It's on a distant island. It's in the frozen north or something. They could be hidden around a massive city, and the PCs are running across rooftops and going through deep dank sewers and running around the city and running down back alleys trying to find these pieces to do a thing to open, like they could be keys to open up a thing that they could never get to until they find that chess piece. Vince mentions, I personally would love to create an old school Zelda dungeon. Yeah, with cool magic items you need to finish the dungeon, and chess pieces could be a great theme for that. Oh yeah, and while I can hear maybe some people that would be against using chess because it's a little bit on the nose. It would be like using playing cards, chess pieces, checker pieces. The great thing about using things that are very on the nose is the fact that you don't have much to explain. So if a player, if you mention in the vast mega dungeon you have that a room has a symbol of the bishop, maybe they understand, oh, there might be healing here, whereas the rook might be defensive, and they can, if they get a rook piece, they can use the rook piece to be able to um, find recovery if you're playing ICRPG or Shadow Dark or BX or any Beckme edition or so, like maybe the if you find a pawn piece, you now have an extra couple of retainers. Oh, Vince says I don't really drink. All right, sorry about that. Later, I go to a good burger place with my wife. That's awesome. Oh, well, listen, um, celebrate in any manner in which you prefer, right? Because that's all that matters. Yes, celebrate your name day, dude. Celebrate it. Oh, that's so awesome. I love it. I love it. Now, also having things on the nose, and if this is something that can be acquired, either a person, place, or thing that is able, the players are able to obtain, and knowing that the enemy can then obtain that same thing, in a different manner. Now, you can get a little bit too scatterbrained with this idea. If the enemies are going after 7 different objectives and the PCs have 5 of their own objectives, that might be a little bit too scatterbrained. But if you have 1, 2, or 3, the players could go, okay, which one's closest? Which one's the most dangerous? Which one is the enemy closest to? Right? So the PCs may go, we should go after the rook so we have some way to defend ourselves against this horde of enemies. But maybe it's better to go after the bishop that the enemy's going after because then they'll be able to heal themselves and things like that. Vince says, name day is something different here in Germany. I did not know that. Of course, I don't know these things. Drew says, I always find it weird that people associate white with good and black with evil. For my settings, I usually have a pale lady instead of a dark lord as the big bad evil. Uh, it's true that there are some world cultures that associate white with evil. I think it's because the commonality is white is it's very difficult to maintain white in a wild setting. Dirt, blood, mud, grass stains, pizza stains, whatever, for tomato sauce, whatever. So um, maintaining white sounds like purity, and go to any classic bookstore and take a look at the covers. Go to the romance section, go to the fantasy section, take a look at the covers, and most often you will see a fair damsel dressed in gossamer flowing silks of white, and so it often represents purity, and I think that's why. And black is a color closer to shadow and things like that. I think that's why. Now, I'm not saying every culture does this. I think it's a very modern kind of thing. So yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Vince says the day of the saint I am named after. I never celebrated. Yep. Yeah, having a blinding light and a comforting shade is a great theme. That brings me up to a role playing system. Anyway, there are also cultures where white is used for grief. Yep, Japanese culture. Yeah. Hey, N King. Well, in Vampire the Masquerade, wearing white is basically a boast. It says, "I don't leave a drop." Yeah, yeah. I wear white when I go out hunting. They give me their blood. I never get anything on me. Uh, but the it could be. Let's go back to the MacGuffin idea, right? It could be that there are similar but opposing abilities if the players acquire an opposing color. So an example could be if you own if you capture the white rook, you have something defensive. If you capture the black rook takes out the defense. So one could be a key to the other. It could also be that you there's a bit of a takeaway, give and take kind of theft going on. So if the first piece the players gather is black, maybe they can only then activate other black pieces. But if they capture white pieces, it won't work for them, but it takes away an advantage from the enemy. And the enemy may be trying to get that back, but maybe the enemy has two black pieces and they have one. And if they exchange the two for the one, the pieces might be in for it, like game for it or something. Yeah. Dan King says, of course, how many Victorian ghost brides wear white in a creepy way? That's true. That yeah, yeah. We do have a lot of creepy ghosty kind of things. Um, where of course they are cast in white. And so maybe there is this idea of like white being pristine, so it draws us in, only to realize that, yeah, maybe not. Yeah, Vince says, could also be that one player has to play a chess match and each piece he takes weakens the enemy forces. That's another idea. So listen, we're coming up with a lot of bits and pieces, especially if you have like players have to play chess with a dragon or something, and moving the chess pieces, like the chess piece could be a downtime activity. So the downtime activity itself could be that the players play chess and then they go back to the adventure, and this is the end result of them playing chess, where the world is transformed and they're fighting in a desolate landscape or something, and then when they finally achieve one of the chess pieces, they run all the way back to the dragon to put the chess piece on the board, bam, and the dragon's like stroking their chin like, okay, and then they move a piece, PCs move a piece, the PCs are like, damn it, flood, we gotta leave. you know Being a dragon in this horde would be so boring. Yes. the drag the dragon's like, please, I've been standing here for 700 years. Dragon's like, shh, I'm thinking. Oh no, that would be pretty boring. So yes, I believe using maybe like let's see, encyclopedia chess variants, um very interesting kind of things. The idea of using the human chess, maybe on the day of chess there have been people from around the nation who have been training for no other reason but to be in this chess game. And the players, like for example, maybe the players are there to convince someone to leave the chessboard or not be part of this and engage in this in any way. Maybe this is tradition, but the PCs are like, don't do this. Like you realize you don't even have to play this game. Or again, going back to chess representing nations. Maybe the players realize that in this world, like they wanted to stop the wholesale slaughter. Maybe this is the proverbial lawful and goodly people finding out a way to stop the wholesale slaughter of their people. So what happens? The hobgoblins send down their best. And with their best, they come armed with like two minotaurs and three giants and a couple of like ogres, and they're like, those are our pieces. And the human population is like, oh, that's all right. We got our elves over here and some goodly tieflings on that side, and right behind us is a half giant and so and then they get to get ready on the chessboard, or the players might have to go out and recruit. Could you imagine them having to parlay and recruit people to be on their side and have to hurry up before the enemy gets to a certain place to offer things to people who were then play in this chess game, knowing that as brutal as it is, at least we won't be sending hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people to their death. So it is possible that this becomes a thing where, yeah, guess what? Maybe this might even represent the idea of the gods playing chess. Maybe this is humanity's way of going, like sending like a big giant fu middle finger to the gods, that the end result of this chess game is the position of the gods themselves. And then in that way, if somebody takes out the god of healing, the PCs are like, oh no, you mean there's no more magical healing? You're like, nope, not for a year, not until we play, not until the day of chess comes back around. Now, mind you, it doesn't have to be a year. I'm thinking it could be, I don't know, 42 days. It could be a weird lunar cycle that's every 12 years or something. But it could literally affect the game world. Like, are you saying that they took both of our rooks? That means all of our defensive measures are completely down? And then one by one, castles crumble, or the hobgoblins just so happen to have a piece that allows them to penetrate the defenses of the human lands or something. Yeah, very, very interesting. Anime Human, a 20, chess match 23. Mm-mm-mm. But also again with the player characters assembling the assembling their team, as it were, of recruiting their team. What a great excuse for players not to use retainers and henchmen and hirelings as cannon fodder, at least not yet, but to actually arm them. And it's kind of like a meta game again, right? Hey, we're going out to go get treasure and magic items because we need to arm our side against the other side. It could also be, here's another one, it could also be the player characters are, that's kind of cool. He's doing flipping somebody on the chessboard. Um, it could also be that the players are playing characters and they want to advance the characters because they're going to retire them. Um, Not necessarily like a funnel or a gauntlet, but more like, I want to get my character as high level over 3 adventures. Great, I got him to 5th level. Okay, this character is going to play a knight. All right, now here's my other character, my 2nd level druid. I want to get her up to a certain level, and they're going to play one of the pawns. Like that would be, it could get complicated, but I could see it being a thing. All right, let's see what you guys are talking. Vince says, I love the image of an elder vampire that is so paranoid. All he does is playing male chess with his buddies, and each chessboard is under a glass bowl in a huge room. Yeah, well, hey, listen, that can be a thing. Powerful individuals and nobles that like basically play chess in a room. People have played chess over phones and by mail order and things like that many times. And of course, there's um, back in the day when people used to buy PCs all the time, it came preloaded with games like solitaire and battle chess and things like that. Drew says, I have a clear conscience. I never use it. Purity is, in my opinion, a bad thing since it shows you are not living, but in an ivory tower. And well, we had already that ivory is questionable. Yeah, I'm with you on that, Drew. which in and of itself, maybe the players are completely neutral. They're looking at both sides like, really? Like, how do we stop this, knowing that it has a, on the day of chess, it has a not potential, it has a um, inevitability all to itself, and the players are trying to stop maybe a conflict between both sides, and maybe they have to predict the moves of two people playing, or two entities playing chess, and then get in the middle of it. uh, that would be a different kind of conflict, where the players are they themselves trying to stop a fight, knowing they're getting into a fight when two sides are about to get into a fight to stop that fight. I don't know how you would adjudicate that with die rolls, but I think it would be pretty interesting. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely, Drew's doing it. Yeah, talking about scathing indictment of elephants and rhinos. Yep, yep. Heck, you could even, if you wanted to even rewind this a little bit, before the day of chess, there may be individuals who are who assemble the pieces themselves, and to grant them some kind of arcane power, what are they making the pieces out of? Staying away from the whole ivory and slaughtering animals just to have fun in a role playing game. It doesn't mean that, for example, my wife and I, we do cruising, and we go down into the Caribbean, and there is a plant that is called tropical ivory, islander ivory, and it's made from a plant. Let me see if I can find it here. Let's see. Da, da, da. Mm, mm, mm. Let's see. Cool. Let's see if I can find it. No, 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 no. Plant-based ivory. Elephant plant. You have vegetable ivory. Sorry, let me see. Vegetable ivory, or tagua nut, there it is a product made from the very hard white endosperm of the seeds of certain palm trees. Vegetable ivory is named for its resemblance to animal ivory. Species in the genus Phytolepis, literally elephant plant, native to South America, are the most important sources of vegetable ivory. There it is. Yep, that's it. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Let's get that out the way. All right. Let's see. Yeah, it depends on how you define purity. I would, for example, never drink contaminated water or do drugs from questionable sources. Yeah. Ooh, silly. I use prestidigitation to change one of the square's colors, letting my bishop move onto it. Why the hell not? Why wouldn't we have? I mean, of course we're going to have people like. How do you legally cheat in variations on chess? Uh, yeah, yeah. How do you legally cheat? Well, there are ways to cheat. There are many games that have rules about cheating. Yep, 3D chess, round chess. Let's get back to the top here. We've got the I love some of these bright colors here. Um, there's a four color piece, and where is it? I can't find. There it is. There it is. The far corner. There it is. Yep. Kind of sweet. Maybe you can't see it. That's all right. Uh, This discussion of days reminds me of Hellboy, where Baba Yaga will say, "You took my eye 10,000 years ago," but then but in actuality, that happened in the 50s. Yeah, well, this Day of series is basically it. Listen, it's an excuse to steal some ideas, right? And also, I think using of course, today being the day of chess and this other day of series, uh, it's an easy in for us to layer this in our settings. So if we have various different fantasy settings, um, and we want to try something different, or we're getting a little bit bored, or your players are like a little bit too smart for their own good, by doing this, I think it allows us both narratively and mechanically to offer challenges to the players that they normally wouldn't have. And a day is only a day. So if it really doesn't work for you and the players are like, yeah, I'm not really feeling this, the day ends at some point. So whatever, we didn't do it. If you have a day of decay and there is no healing possible whatever on this day, here's an excuse to tell your players, guess what? On this day, this is a thing that happens. So that's why I wanted to do it, right? It's an easy way to do a thing without really affecting your setting too much. And you listen, you can also throw this off to the side. Every map has a corner to it, right? Throw it off to the side. Maybe it's a hidden enclave. These people believe in this thing, even though your players never heard of it before. Yep, and yeah, and King says supernatural time and mortal time don't have to line up perfectly or at all, and we don't have to have rules. We understand our own celestial orbits of planets and stars and sun. This is fantasy. It doesn't have to happen that way at all. We don't have to have a sun that rises and sets. Maybe the sun spins on an axis, and the back half of it is black and the other half is white, right? Or sunny and glowing. Maybe what is it? Within the ring of fire, there are only two stars in the night sky, and they both look like eyes, and that's it. Um, also within the ring of fire, and this is actually happens in other fantasy genre, where the amount of time for a day and night does not have to be regulated at all. It could be on a particular day, and this is actually coming up, the day of the long night. Maybe when the players wake up, it's 24 hours of night, something like that. So yeah, we can play with that. So on the day of chess, the fact that maybe chess may not exist in your game, or it exists but it's not really a big thing, but on the day of chess, it is a global phenomenon, or at least affects this population. Sure, go with it. um then King says, if we're going for a scientific angle, maybe instead of white versus black, it's copper pieces versus electron pieces, and the board has electric tram lines. You had to throw that in there at the end, but yeah, it could be made of any kind of materials, or they could be materials collected by the player characters that are then carved. So maybe the player characters go out and go, all right, let's see, we can find some rose quartz for a mineral. And mind you, they don't have to be. Yes, we understand that, we know that in a modern context, they're carved of like plastic and wood and metal and such. But what if the bishop is a jar, like a bishop shaped uh, glass vial that should be filled with the tears of a devil, right? Or the knight piece should be um, a sword freely given from the tomb of a noble knight, given over to the, like how you quote unquote build your army may not be, it doesn't have to be literal. They could be foundations of something. The PCs must go to the knighthood to get their blessing, so that they can to get the blessings of the knights, or even recruit two knights from the knighthood to play in this game. And the knights could be like, we're too busy fighting goblinoid hordes to play some dumb game, but the game might be far more important on this particular day. Or again, maybe there are knights that are trying to compete for this, and the PCs have to judge, okay, which one is going to battle, or the players themselves are the pieces, and they have to decide amongst themselves, okay, guess what, okay, who's the most defensive player character and can apply the most defenses. And the wizard goes, sorry fighter, but it's actually me. And the fighter's like, oh, okay, you do have a number of protective spells, okay, so you're going to be our defense. And how about you, rogue? And rogue's like, I know, I'm always going to be the pawn. And they're like, no, 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 you're actually far more mobile. Maybe you should kind of be our knight kind of person. And they're like, really? Okay, I guess I'll be that person. Like maybe it's the PCs having to pick and choose the individuals that they represent. They could also be um, given a lot of responsibility in an actual war. For example, we there will be a day of war that's coming up in this day of series, and maybe the player characters are like, "Listen, you control the pawns. You're going to here with the bishops and that kind of thing." It could be very warlike rather than a chessboard. It may be a day of battle, and everybody, all the greatest strategic leaders know this is the day. If we get our tactics right and our strategies right on this day, we can win. And maybe everyone's fighting to get to the point of this day so that they are in a superior position to then make moves, make power moves. Mufa says Day of Chess could be how national wars are settled, or maybe the leader of the kingdom has to defeat the Dark Lord in a game of chess every 100 years, or whoever defeats the Dark Lord gets to be king. Exactly. Yeah, we brought that up earlier, but you summarized, made it very succinct. Where on the Day of Chess, it could and who's to say the chessboard is a chessboard? Like each location from afar may look like a board, but when you step into it, one piece could be a vast swamp, and when you move, you literally see a literal dividing line moving into a vast desert, and another one's a tangled rainforest, and then another one is a beach like coastline or something. um, when it would be interesting, although a little bit too separate, splitting the party. But if the rogue steps into a location, maybe the other players can't defend them, or um, during the game, there is the players can earn the ability to pick and or choose the location, right? So this diverges a little bit off of chess, but going with what Mufa has to say, it could be. We've seen this before with challenges between duels, right? Pick the time, pick the place, pick the weapon. This could also be a thing. Players are like, okay, do we fight the Goblin Horde, the cadre of giants, or do we go straight to the dragon in a piece? You're walking around. We got a lot of our resources now. We should go after dragon. Yeah, but the dragon. I don't know. I'm feeling the goblinoid horde now. We might be reduced on resources and then go after. Okay, let's go after Goblin Horde. So maybe you get to pick your enemy, but then the enemy is like, we get to pick the location. We're going to pick, grab piece, put it on the table, frozen lake. You're like, oh fuck, right? Like, okay, then we're gonna pick the weapons. We're gonna pick battle axes or something. I don't know. Like in that, the pieces themselves could manipulate how the battle is done. And then what happens? The PCs could literally be in an arena, but the arena itself is magical, and everything happens that the pieces represent, and they're now on this frozen lake with the winds blowing, and kind of in a blizzard, looking in the distance, they can actually see the crowd, like kind of like ghostly, and as they move through the realm, it actually shifts inside of the inside of the arena, even though the people in the arena around the arena they're not moving. Yeah. Yeah, Drew's like, yeah, king. I'm fine being queen. Queen, yeah, the king. To win the game, you checkmate the king, but the queen is the most powerful. So because she can move anywhere, right? And it's kind of I like the idea of that. Then King says Day of Chess could only affect robots or automatons, and they suddenly become super OCD in how they walk. Yeah, this what's the TV show Automan? I don't know if you guys have ever seen clips of this old '80s TV show Automan, and Automan moved geometrically, and he had a day glow car and like neon lights on it, and sports car. And of course, when he's driving down the street, they'd always show him. He wouldn't curve around a corner. They would just splice the images of him doing like geometric moves and stuff. Pretty funny, but yeah. But like Drew said, Drew brings up a point, and this came into my mind the other day about like listening to individuals, some of my favorite creators on YouTube, and often we default to a Eurocentric nobility style of king, queen, baron, baroness, um, viscount, viscountess, princes and princesses, and things like that. And you could also use the day of chess to reinforce that one side does not really blend with the same ideals as the other side. So an example could be, I always bring up different things, squirrels and mimics sometimes, but I also bring up the Five Kings Mountain and the Council of Seven. Don't know why, but I just do. And on the Council of Seven, maybe there are seven important figures as opposed to a king and queen. And those seven important figures could, it's non-gendered. They're just seven wizards, and they cast magic, and they, all that kind of stuff. And they are the seven, whereas maybe an opposing faction has a very strong matriarchal thing. So it's the queen and her brood, and then so on and so forth. So the day of chess could be a way to express how politics and government is portrayed amongst the rest of your world, with the PCs not having to visit that location. Instead of going to the tavern on the day of chess, it's chess being played, and the PCs go, "Oh, in the vast, deep, accursed desert, it's the blue dragon that's the leader, because their piece represents the dragon, and then the dragon's horde is somewhere, and then they have these other entourages, and they're like, oh, that's why we keep getting attacked by the scorpion riders. They are in league with the blue dragon, and they never knew it. And so the day of chess could be revealing important facets of your game world. um, Drew says, I usually refer to that in gender neutral names as monarch or sovereign. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Simply because, and listen, I this is a place safe for all pronies, but it also, because this is a tabletop role playing game creative element here, that we're here for mind fuel, we it's also a good idea to disrupt expectations. So when we think of king and queen, the expectation is already built into the title, right? But when you hear sovereign, monarch, leader, commander, uh, um, dominus, things like that. Even though in certain like languages, like for example, if you put an A at the end of some languages, it falls feminine, and if you put like an OS at the end, it may fall male. But if you like Latinx instead of Latina and Latino is an idea. Maybe you have something like uh what's a good one? Protectrix, right? It could be, and then that way the players don't know, or you keep it gendered, right? King, queen, but when they arrive, it's literally just a title. And when they see a woman sitting on the thing, like, where's the king? Like, I am the king, right? It's just a title we have, right? Yeah, yeah, daimyo, shogun, tenno. Yep, absolutely, right. Yeah, 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 yeah. And using some of them, daimyo, shogun, tenno, khan. Oh, there's so many others. Oh yeah, yeah. And the thing is, we can play with that as well, because a lot of our mythological enemies tend to be gendered. More bestial, bestial violence tends to far male, and seductress and illusion tends to fall feminine. Although they do overlap, right? Meaning like lycanthropes and werewolves. They transform, but they turn into beasts, and but they could be an innocent young lady or something like that. June says, I like that in Japanese most titles are gender neutral. I'm not bad about that all either. I mean, also going back to a little bit of what Mufa here is saying, that yeah, chess could also be a metaphorical for a day of political intrigue. The annual day, the immortal emperor swaps around members of the ruling class and the responsibilities based on his whims. And the players could really influence this. For example, let's say the ability to sway the emperor or the dominatrix. I was trying not to say dominatrix, but you get the point, right? Um, which is gender neutral if you think about it. And by doing so, it could be that the players are one amongst many people that are trying to sway the dominatrix in this continent sweeping thing, and the PCs are like, oh no, we've got to do something about this, because when the political intrigue starts, so and so is going to be in charge of blankety blank, and we don't want that to happen, so let's go ahead and stop this. Yeah, the End King says this talk of gendered language makes me think of the Marvel superheroine Thor girl. She didn't last long. Yeah, yeah, I don't like that. It's too, it doesn't play well with the tongue, right? When you do things like that. Although um, something could be said for someone being named after something or someone, uh, despite the gender. Like, uh, which was it? Star Trek Discovery, that one of the characters was named Michael, and her name was Michael because it was named after. So she was named after someone that was someone in her background, something like that. Drew says, with reminds me that I hate it with AEG tried to make a female samurai word by adding the KO at the end, which is complete nonsense. Oh, yes, yes. Samariko? I don't. Yeah. It human language could get a little complicated and like funny in a way where it's like, that doesn't really work, right? So, something as a title, like samurai is a title. If you ever read Shogun, I mean, samurai is used interchangeably with men and women because there's a character in there that a female character that embodies the tenets of being a samurai, which is like a servant. Um, and so, yeah, later on, they gave a woman Mjolnir, and she just called herself Thor, and that worked better. Yep, yep. Whosoever holds a hammer should have the power of Thor. They become Thor. Right? It's kind of weird. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for allowing me to present this to you guys. We do have a number of other things coming up in the show. You'll see on. Let's see if I can find it here. Um, do do do. What are some aspects coming up later? Uh, yeah, I'll share this out because I'm right here. Um, boo, boo. Later on, we have coming up uh, tomorrow, the day of the blazing sun, and going. I'm putting these together 2 weeks in advance so that we have something to think about, and I'm not putting them in any particular order on purpose. To shuffle the brain. So we have the day of the blazing sun, day of secrets, day of the long night, day of black orbs. Whoever knows what that's going to be. You don't want certain black orbs stuck in certain particular orifices. Day of Hypnosis is coming up, which kind of deals a little bit with today. Day of the Flood, Day of War, Day of Grain and Grape, and Day of New Worlds. So, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Yeah. And allow me to put one last thing before we go. Um, let's see if I can find Lumen RPG. There we go. Um, just to give a shout out to this one, or I believe it was Vince that brought up like light and shade, and there is a game by an individual. This is on itch.io. Let's do this. Uh, there's a sorry, putting this into the chat. So if you want to take a look at it, this is a rules light game and created by what's the person's name? Um, it only has 3 stats, rules light, and it's based on this individual, Spencer Campbell, and it's based on his love of um, Mecha and the Destiny video games, and it's pretty simple. He's got a game called using these rules, the Lumen rules. He's got a game called Light and Nova. He's got an SRD, and just ask you to basically you can make illuminated by Lumen games. And one of the games has stats where in the game Light, let's see if we can click Light here. Uh, if we click Light, I think it shows you the stats. And oh, oh, maybe it's no, I downloaded it. But anyway, the stats are something like light, shade, and darkness, or something like that. Um, but anyway, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So anyway, if you're someone who wants to be a game designer, look for some of these free SRD available games, especially the rules light ones, and start out. Um, this was suggested to me by someone, so I decided to donate some money and go ahead and find it and pick it up. So um, that's just a little my 2 cents at the end of the end of this thing. So yep. Anyway, guys, have a great one. Uh, put a day of ice in there for me because the heat has been outrageous. You know what? I will. Day of Ice. You got it. I'll make a thumbnail for it and everything. Yeah. I make a little list for myself and then I do these in 2 week blocks. So guys, have a great one. Thank you very much. Happy birthday, Vince, if you're already going. Have a great burger on me. Anyway, guys, have a great. I'll see you later. Peace.